Well, India win the second test match by 106 runs. It felt like today was going to be a day where we saw some things, maybe some exciting things. In the end, it was kind of elementary, I suppose, chasing 399, England out for 292. It felt like there were some moments for England, but then also it was calamitous at other times. Also, for the first time in this test series, Pezza, I felt some things because I saw some players just get a little bit tetchy. There's a little bit of heat. I feel like the Indian players just started to fire up, like the clenching of the fist just a little bit firmer today. Thoughts? Did you see it that way?
Yeah, I don't think I picked up on that as much as you, but I have always been working on reading social cues, which is a separate issue, and not a moment too soon. Here goes. Like it's 1-1 in the series now. I said last night, India is blue chip stocks, England is crypto. Blue chip stocks for India win the day, win the test. I'm talking about runs on the board, daddy tons, young gun tons, Ashwin stranded on 499 test wickets, Bumrah's venom and devastation and destruction, bowling fast. You know, it's a good investment. Solid balance sheets, steady cash flows, proven business models, and a history of increasing dividends. Market goodwill, high credit worthiness versus crypto. You know, sometimes it's boom, a lot of times bust. But let's talk about the boom a lot. And I'll tell you what, for India, very big win, 100 plus runs for them in this test match, for the team that, as far as I could tell in the media, was constantly on the back foot and nervous. So they did really well to come through, India, in this game, despite all of those performances. Congratulations to them.
TGC is brought to you by Hell Energy Drink. If you're in India right now and you're sensing that you might need some energy, maybe you're part of the Barmy Army, maybe you're heading out tonight in Vizag, maybe you're part of the Bharat Army and you need some energy and you see a can of Hell Energy Drink, I tell you what, just think of TGC and think of all the good times, because like TGC, Hell Energy Drinks gives you power like hell. Here we go, Charlie. Roll the clip.
Did you think that the power that brought you here had given up on you? But when would you believe in yourself if not at the finish line? Why hit the brakes when there's still fuel in the tank? Because the power that brought you here is still in you. All you need is a little spark to go like hell. Hell Energy.
Thanks very much to Hell Energy Drink for getting behind TGC throughout this England and India series, or indeed the other way around. Pezza, first of the three things today, India just played the better game. I'm seeing Jaiswal score 209 up top. Shubman Gill scores a wonderful 100 where he says, I left more runs out there. Jasprit Bumrah takes 6 for 45 and 3 for whatever today. 9 wickets in the game, probably player of the match. As you mentioned, Ashwin, 499 test wickets. Almost gets Hartley out about 5 different ways. They wanted to check it so many times. It's like, are we sure this isn't the moment, guys? Are we sure this isn't the 500th wicket? Because I'm going to review my review of this. I'm desperate for it to happen today. So just overall, India were just better. Zach Crawley scored 250s in the game. He's had a good test match. Apart from that, nothing really much else for England. So the better team has won the game of cricket, haven't they? Or did you want sort of just like raw, bareback stuff from England?
Jimmy Anderson bowled well. Hey, he's 41. Yeah, so. He's 41. Yeah, it's hard not to, like... It's very difficult for me to avoid reading it through the lens of Bazball, whose acolytes will shower you with their evangelism about how great their stylings are. And it's hard to disagree with it a lot of the time. You look at some numbers on screens that usually mean one thing, but because of the mercurial nature of Bazball, and that there is some evidence that they can do some shit that you haven't seen before, it's very easy to forget that there are just as many pieces of shit in that style as there are remarkable things. You know, and when you look at this game, which in Indian terms was a docile pitch, I agree with DK. It ragged a bit. You know, there was a little bit of inconsistent bounce, but that's also consistent with test matches, generally speaking. England, by rights, could look at their scorecards and go, where was our daddy? You know, who is daddying for us? But when every single player seems to be under instruction to play stick fucking cricket, you're not going to have as many daddies. Now, easy for me to lay the boot in because England's lost. It seems to go 50-50 for them in these big games. Look what happened in the last one. You have to call that out. But on this occasion, as you say, India get all the chocolates in terms of not only the win, but the individual performances to go with it. The match will be remembered for Jaiswal hitting a double ton, and probably for me, Jasprit Bumrah being the difference between the two sides on a deck that probably, asked for more runs on it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Jaiswal scores the innings of the series. Not the series. Pope's innings last game was better, but of the match certainly. But the difference of the two sides does feel like it was Bumrah. Now, Jimmy Anderson, it has been brought up that he's in his early 40s now. But let me tell you, Jimmy Anderson is having an Indian hot girl summer. It's just like it's not frosted tips. He's looking extremely tanned, like he spent some time in the Mediterranean recently. He has got some blonde highlights. Are we calling those blonde highlights, Pezza? Is that what we're talking about?
They do seem to be
footage.
Yeah, no, you're right, because it's not. You'd love it to be a frosted tip, like AKA Dawson Leary, pacey, etc. I'm talking Dawson's Creek there. I'm not talking about how he bowls. Of course. But it's probably through the salad a bit too much to call it a frosted tip. It's more akin to his, and it's not a skunk, the early 2000s skunk that Anderson was rocking. It's not Paul Gascoigne either all the way through the hair. I don't know how you kind of label what he is doing, but so as you can see, I'm at 6s and 7s trying to figure out what he's doing with his salad. But I do like it too. I mean, that he is an incredible nick, and that's what you'd say. Like once you age a little bit, if you can get the rig in order, not that I've ever been there myself, I've just observed from afar. That's when you start using like the adjective of like you're in good nick. G's in good nick brackets for an old bloke. Yeah.
See, usually he's got the kind of physique that would sort of be representative of someone going through a tough breakup at the moment, and they're going through their bodybuilding stage, and it's just a redemption rig. Now, Jimmy Anderson has had a redemption rig for his entire professional career. I feel like I'm getting some slow motion footage of him lifting up his shirt and revealing a shaved lower abdomen, which I'm here for as well. I just think he's bringing the kind of raw sex appeal which others are suggesting is Tom Hartley. Now, Tom Hartley's had a wonderful start to his Test career, apart from maybe the first day of his Test life, but it's a real yin and yang. I got to tell you, with England at the moment, it's a real yin and yang. Anyway, I hope I get to see more of Jimmy Anderson's hot girl Indian summer. That's all I'm saying. Should we talk about today's play? So England started the day needing 332. Was it 23 or 32? 32. Thank you. So 1 for 67 overnight. Rian Ahmed came to the crease, of course, and then it was all going relatively well. And then the double break of having Crawley, who batted nicely, and then Bairstow in the last sort of 10 minutes just before the lunch break, through Kuldeep Yadav getting Zach Crawley with some optical illusion LBW stuff. Relatively plumb in the end, and then Bairstow getting just an absolute peach where Bumrah's bowling from cover. It hits a crack, so the angle is going in. It hits a crack, and then there's a leg cutter, and then it's hitting the leg stump. And then we will talk about later Ashwin and him exchanging words and a bit of a send-off, a la someone referring to that later from the Thomas and Tank Engine phenomenon of a TV show, The Fat Controller. But that double break there really did kill England's innings. But in the meantime of that, and the innings generally, if I can just couple it in here, Pez, and keep going with it as I'm on a roll, there was some real take the rough with the smooth kind of batting. Joe Root scores 16 off 9 before running down the wicket and just popping one up in the air. Ben Stokes forgot how to run for a bit after sort of changing tactics after the lunch break. So I'm inclined to say, I've got to tell you, I've enjoyed watching this run chase because I was thinking, could England do it? A lot of people are thinking, could England do it? And then there's some fucking weird stuff that I'm watching, but it's like, that's some real international 2 stuff. But fundamentally, the double break before lunch was the killer. Would you agree?
Yeah, the killer is being set 399 to win in India, I think, in the fourth innings.
Yeah. Historically difficult.
Never been done, never been kissed, that number of runs. But I take your point. You do have to keep an eye on the score when England is playing, because you do find yourself squinting, going, "Is this another thing that's on? It's another thing that I haven't seen these numbers move like this before." They do hit an absolute fuckload of boundaries, and a lot of them skewed and stuff like that. But again, rough with smooth, they tick it over, and it does start to it does create those. That sense of discombobulation or that second guessing of oneself, which I think is that's the aim. That's part of the aim, I think, of this Bazball style, is to knock the opposition off their equilibrium a little bit. I mean, overnight, I noted, there was several English media outlets highlighting that Shubman Gill, after making his resilient 100 to give India enough of a buffer, under a little bit of pressure himself because he's looked like cream crap for the last 3 months batting. Not least because he wore a cap while he was batting yesterday in a test match, like a baseball cap. He was asked where he thought the game was, and he said, "I think it's about 70-30. And, everybody who commented on this in England, the Bazball acolytes were sort of rejoicing that despite a kind of historically unachieved score of 400, 399. Shubman said it was 70-30. That's what England does. I was listening to TalkSport this morning, live on air. It's 2 for 120 in a chase of 399. They've just spent the last 20 minutes describing Rian Ahmed like the fucking A.B. de Villiers reincarnate as a bat. And Nighthawk at that. Look up that name, by the way, if you haven't come to a live show. And the... Nevertheless, the origins of that name, it shares some interesting parallels. Anyway, yeah. Don't know if you want to be saying it, but nevertheless, it's periodical 1924. It's 2 for 120. The commentators are, and I appreciate it's England-centered commentary, but they're ripping into Rohit's captaincy. He's at 6s and 7s, and they actually say that. Shubman made this comment where it's 70, he said it's 70-30 overnight. And one of them said, England's living in their heads rent-free. The rent-free comment came out at 2 for 120. Settle down. Settle down. We need to remember these performances at times. Bazball's been very good. I like it. I think it's got deep levels to it. Because there will be occasions where it comes off. And... that's when everything will seem justified. But there is a lot of crap that comes with it as well, like we saw today. I don't know what my note was after Joe Root's shot, other than okay. Do you know what I'm saying? But we're you're meant to celebrate with fucking books and an open top bus parade and moral victories when they do some stuff you haven't seen before. But when something dreadful objectively happens, you don't. If you criticize it, you don't get it. You just don't get it. It's a wonderful, at its worst, it's a wonderful feat of human delusion. At its best, very easy on the eyes, with respect.
That is the true dichotomy of what we're seeing, because I noticed. We noticed this rather in the Ashes that the scores that they were getting were round about par, but they just got there quicker. So whilst it is, in my opinion anyway, it is objectively brilliant to watch, especially as a neutral fan. It's just the game is moving all the time, especially in the run chase. You're just thinking fuck, maybe. Whereas had this game petered out over the course, this innings over 5 sessions, it's they were always going to fall short. But they've got there quicker, and it happened so quickly, you sort of trick yourself into thinking, is this love? Am I in love now? Am
I in love now? Yeah, exactly. I don't know what this feeling is. Yeah, it's a fine line
As
between...
an aside, by the way, Pezza, I've been watching a lot of Love on the Spectrum, which could be related. I'm not sure.
Do you mean just in your own life or on TV? Fine line. Yeah. It's just a fine line between insanity and genius. sometimes it has some remarkable substance to it. Other times it looks nothing more than an embarrassing mind trick. Like that, but that's the life of the maverick, you know. And I'd rather have it than something turgid. So you know, fair play to them. But if it fucks up, then you gotta call it out.
Yeah, it does feel very much James Dean, Rebel Without a Cause, but he had several causes. So I I don't know what you're talking about. In that movie, he had several causes to be a rebel. Anyway, let's talk about the third thing. The series is set up nicely, Pezza, I suppose. I just get the sense in the celebrations, even Boomer getting that last wicket, cleaning up Tom Hartley, another fucking peach, by the way, sort of lost in the moment. Just an extra fist pump, you know, Rohit running in, Ashwin from mid-off, like just fucking giving it these ones like this. This did feel like a big win for India. They obviously had Patidar debuting. They didn't have Jadeja. Obviously, Kohli is not there. Akshar Patel hasn't had the same impact. You know, Shubman's looked off. Yeah, so I can sort of convince myself of reasons why this was not an underdog victory, but it was certainly important in Indian eyes. Maybe things hadn't gone quite their way so far in the series, but it does set it up nicely as we move to Rajkot the next game. Yeah, Rajkot, Ranchi, and then Dharamshala. That's it, isn't it? So it does set it up nicely. England have been playing some good cricket. Ultimately, they won the first Test match in absolutely incredible circumstances. So you feel like India at this point, in many ways, have played probably more days of good cricket so far, but 1-1. I don't know. I think I'm looking at a good Test series here, and if there's a bit more heat, bit more vibe to it, a couple more player stories, tensions in between such. I think we could be looking at a good time here.
Yeah, and that is credit to England. I guess I mean it is. You know, if you ask most people heading into the series that, you know, when they get to Rajkot, it's 1-1, series alive, and India get a couple of throbbers back. That's a great result for England, given that India are basically near on fucking impregnable at home, unable to be impregnated. So, it has had a strange character. I don't know if that's a Bazball effect again. I know a lot of the strangeness is probably born out of Virat not being there at the moment, India being down a couple of players. But yeah, like I haven't felt like the commentators have been doing the propaganda thing too much. Perhaps that's because KP's taken up like 80% of the airtime with a strange clipped voice when he talks. Or maybe because the airspace has been taken by, you know, people like Anderson saying that India's going to be nervous. They don't even know what target to set. It was 100 too many in the end. I don't know. Like India has felt subdued in a lot of ways, but today they came out roaring. They got the job done. You know, the blue chip investor would be saying this is where India just takes it and runs with it, especially getting guys back. But the mercurial nature of the way England's playing, the upside of a lot of their players, means that they're always going to be in the game. So today, I suppose, is just one of those days where it doesn't work out for them. You'd say, you know, fuck a sucker ding dong, and we move on to the next game where they might play well.
I'd really enjoy that in the Star Sports commentary. Sucker fucker ding dong, we move on to the next game. Hashtag AskTGC if there's nothing else, Pezza. This one comes in via Patreon today, but if you want to leave your hashtag AskTGC into the comments below of this video, then please do jump that along. And you know what? Shoot this video a like. I mean, why not just do that as well? Third flute, though, Pezza, I wrote it on Patreon, and he or she said, hashtag AskTGC, how's the stare on Bairstow for Ashwin? Reckon Ashwin felt like Thomas being yelled at by the fat controller for being on the wrong track. Now, before I included this reference into the show, so Thomas the Tank Engine, obviously one of the all-time great television programs, been on the air for 75 years apparently, Pezza. A couple of years ago, they did some diversity into their characters because it felt a little stale. So I'm reading an article here from Sky News, and they've actually replaced the fat controller for a character called Sharubala, who is from India. So they've got an Australian character called Isla. There's a Chinese character in there as well. There's another Indian character, but the fat controller is no more. It's gone global. Yeah, so Charabala is in charge of the railway these days, which is obviously another move by the BCCI to just take over everything.
Railways are a good
characters
first
from
class team, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. I think I saw a bloke scored 1,000 for them literally the other day. So, that moment where Bairstow gets out just before lunch with that cracker from Bumrah, and Ashwin seems to run past him. So it does that little sort of, U-turn pass.
Oh,
the
yeah,
batter, as
definitely.
is professional players, yeah. And he says something. Now, I didn't get the camera angle sort of picking up if Ashwin did say something, but Bairstow did looks like he told him to fuck off. That's an allegation. I don't have the audio. But it did look like that because I can lip read English. So, just a bit of tension in the air. Just a bit of tension in the air, and Ashwin's in it. And he's going to get his 500th wicket against potentially a top order player. So that might mean something more special, like, and his 500th wicket was Ben Stokes, as an example. It would mean so much more to him.
Mate, Ashwin Bairstow, I couldn't see that coming myself. Very out of character between both players. I can't believe that's kicked off between them. And that no one else from either team seemed particularly interested in being part of it.
I like the commentary before the series. Pezza was like, was it Steve Finn talking about the way they won it in Australia, South Africa, and India was like just try and get the home supporters on their side,
right?
So just be really civil, be really polite. Bairstow's gone down a slightly different route by attacking India's most famous YouTuber, in the top 10 anyway. Different strokes, different folks. But I like the way he goes about it, I guess.
Yeah, look, my read of that specific thing was like Ashwin definitely slowed up and changed his angle of approach so that he could get in Bairstow's eye line. And Bairstow's eyes were down for a period of time. So Ashwin had to awkwardly kind of slow his run to ensure that it timed with Bairstow's eyes coming up, at which point Ashwin then coincidentally clenched both fists and celebrated the wicket very close to Johnny Bairstow's face. I thought he said face off to him, as in, look, we're facing off next 3 tests.
Yep.
All's well that ends well. We'll see how we go in the next few tests, Ravichandran.
Fucker sucker ding dong. See you in the next test match. That's what they're all saying. That's what all the broadcasters and the greats of the game are saying. Thanks as always for joining TGC. Click subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you guys on the internet real soon. Cheers.